Tonight, it's CafeTO's application deadline, but our business is cheersing the revamped program.
So this year, the application process has been super easy, and it's just really been great.
From restaurants to business groups, this year's rush to register with the popular summer patio program, even after last year's rollout was plagued by problems.
I feel in relief, and I feel much better that that the culprit get caught.
Plus, pellet gun arrest. The charge is laid after a senior is shot in the face with a pellet gun. Police say the accused lives in the same neighborhood.
Break and enter shouldn't be part of our operating costs.
And a big crime impacting small businesses. Today's summit at City Hall pushing for solutions with a dramatic spike in break and enters. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. Thanks for joining us on the evening of a beautiful Friday. And if today's weather had you thinking about patio season, you are in luck. For months, the city has been working behind the scenes to prepare for another year of CafeTO, where restaurants across the city will once again have their patios spill into the streets. The application window for businesses to take part closed today. And after a tumultuous CafeTO program last year, Lane Harrison went out to see whether the process is getting better reviews this year.
An unseasonably warm day had some people hitting the patios this evening, and businesses on the popular Ossington Strip are looking forward to when they can be there full time.
It is very important for me, and you know that we have more business. We have more people work here.
We have a beautiful big space, but with having the extra patio outside, we double our business.
Torontonians are ready to be outside, and the city is promising that restaurants and bars will be ready to host them earlier than last year, when many operators complained that delays in the CafeTO process led them to miss out on prime patio days. This year, the city has streamlined applications and says 90% of CafeTO patios will be open by Victoria Day weekend. Applications for CafeTO opened in January this year, as opposed to February in 2023. Some other changes made at City Hall include a more user-friendly application portal and extra staff support for businesses.
There has been a significant improvement, which is great. There's also a great team from economic development that's helping answer questions.
From the Ossington BIA's perspective, one improvement has been the most impactful.
Having the automatic renewal process has been super helpful, and because we were able to kind of create the 2-year pilot project, a lot of the technical measurements and the can we do this, can we not do that have been rectified, so people pretty much know what they're getting.
The city wouldn't say tonight how many restaurants have applied, but it told us earlier this year that 220 businesses had been pre-approved as returning participants. The program was first put in place as a way to support restaurants during the pandemic. It became permanent last summer.
I'm going to be ordering some more tables this year because last year we packed capacity, so I'm going to try to squish as much as I can outdoors.
At Downtown Winery, CafeTO adds 15 tables to an already bustling spot. The business has been participating in the program since its inception.
So this year, the application process has been super easy, and it's just really been great. We're excited to launch it again this summer.
Applications for CafeTO officially close at midnight tonight. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
Meantime, a new takeout bylaw is in effect tonight in the hopes of limiting single-use utensils, bags, and plastic from floating around our city. It's already getting some mixed reaction.
Utensils should be provided, especially a lot of times like when I'm eating takeout, I'm working. And in my job, I just don't have utensils.
Definitely a good idea. I mean, also, we used to have plastic forks. Now we switched to bamboo forks. Just minor changes like that. At the end of the day, any little changes I feel like will be positive for the environment.
Okay, so now restaurants will have to ask if you want things like cutlery or condiments. And the move comes as the city gears up the next phase of its strategy to reduce single-use takeaway items. If a business does not follow the new rules, it could cost them. Fines range from $500 to $100,000. There's a sense of relief tonight in Scarborough's Malvern community after an arrest was made in a seemingly random attack. A 76-year-old woman is recovering after being shot in the face with a pellet gun earlier this week. The man responsible now facing charges. Greg Ross.
After releasing this image of the suspect yesterday, police were able to track him down and arrest him last night.
Umar Saad, 27, of Toronto, has been charged with numerous assault and weapons-related charges, as well as breaching his conditions.
According to police, Saad approached a 76-year-old woman who was walking along Hupfield Trail in Scarborough Wednesday morning. They say he shot her in the face and hands with a pellet gun in what they are calling a random attack.
She suffered some pretty serious injuries. Thankfully, she'll recover from them, but quite obviously she's very traumatized and is actually concerned to walk back on the street again.
Police say Saad actually lives here in this neighborhood. His motive behind the attack is still unclear.
The motive is something we're working on right now and trying to figure out exactly why it took place.
It's something many parents at nearby Mary Shad Public School are also wondering.
You know, when you hear about a shooting, and especially that close to the school, your heart starts to race because you have no idea what's happening.
So now you're feeling a little relieved.
Yeah, you feel in relief, and you feel much better that you know that the culprit get caught.
I'm not sure that what influenced him to do this kind of act. Is it under the influence of some drugs, or he was frustrated? I'm not sure.
Residents here say at the very least they feel safer leaving the house knowing Saad has been arrested.
This neighborhood is so good and quiet also, because we never seen this kind of thing happen before also. So that's why it's quite shocking that why it is happened suddenly. Yeah. But now everything is getting better again.
Police say it was help from the community that helped them find Saad. They received a number of security videos from concerned residents that helped them track him back to his house. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
An update now on a startling dog attack that we reported on extensively last month. The apparent dog owner has been arrested. It happened in North Etobicoke near Martin Grove Road and John Garland Boulevard. Police say a woman was waiting at a bus stop when two off-leash dogs attacked. She was dragged to the ground but was able to get to a stranger's vehicle. The woman was taken to hospital with serious life-altering injuries. Police released these images at the time of the owner and the dogs. 36-year-old Ali Ismail Stanley has now been charged, but police say the two dogs have still not been found. And here's a live look for you of our city on this Friday night. 3 degrees right now. Expect increasing cloudiness through the night and possibly some showers overnight. Victor Paolo is covering weather for us. Hey, Victor, some rain tomorrow, but generally a nice weekend on tap.
Well, Chris, one thing we know for sure, we're taking a look at what we're going to be anticipating for this weekend. A bit of drizzle to start our day on Saturday, in from the overnight tonight. And we do got those winds from the south, which are bringing in that Gulf of Mexico air, which will be warming things up. And when it comes to start of your week on Monday, well, it's going to be a sunny one. Now, as you can tell here, as we get closer to the start of the overnight, it will be a bit cloudy. And here's that rain we're anticipating. But that rain is not going to last because it's not that big of a system that's passing. As we can see, by the time we get about halfway through our day Saturday, the skies will slowly start to clear and the precipitation will definitely start to move its way away from where we are. And that's going to leave us with quite the clear overnight for Saturday, as well as a sunny Sunday in store. Now, here's what we're expecting for the overnight tonight, closer to around 2 degrees. And here's a quick look at our 3-day forecast. A little bit of precipitation we're expecting on Saturday and Sunday and Monday, and increase of temperatures. Make sure to stay tuned for the rest of that 3- and 7-day forecast. And over to you, Chris.
Okay, thank you, Victor. CUPE workers at the University of Toronto are getting set to strike on Monday if the university and union don't come to an agreement over the weekend. CUPE says potential strike action could affect 8,000 workers, most of whom are academic employees. The union says the sticking points in negotiations include a wage increase to match the rising cost of living and equality concerns on campus. 3,000 academic workers at York University, represented by the same union, hit the picket lines earlier this week. A summit was held today at City Hall to deal with a startling rise in small business break-ins. Police say last year hundreds of Toronto stores were hit, leading to a 20% increase in the crime. Dale Manukduk shows us the impact it's having on the business community.
Break and enter shouldn't be part of our operating costs.
That's unfortunately the case for Dan Ferracuti, owner of Safari Bar and Grill. His restaurant has been broken into several times. Thieves targeted point-of-sale terminals that they then process refunds from the business's bank account onto prepaid debit or credit cards.
And I'm actually watching it happen in real time, every minute, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, and there's just no stopping it.
The problem is widespread throughout the city.
There was an increase in 19% over from 2022 to 2023 in break-and enters in small businesses. Over the past year, we have had 300 break-and enters related to point-of-sale thefts.
It is as if our bank becomes their ATM.
Today at City Hall, business operators voiced their concerns, including the impacts of having a POS device stolen.
When you lose a Visa terminal, you lose the ability to do business. We were down 30% that day in our bakery.
The issues go beyond losing sales or money being withdrawn. There's also the cost of increasing security and property damage. Just this week, the church in Wellesley Village was victim to a window smashing spree. This small business will have to pay over $3,000 to board up and replace the glass. Those costs can have devastating impacts for many who are still in debt related to the pandemic. So business owners were joined by police, advocacy groups, payment processing companies, and politicians to discuss solutions.
We look at the pattern. When are they coming? Who is it that is doing it? And how do we break that cycle?
How some thieves are able to process refunds is by entering generic passwords on the terminals that allow them to access the operating system. But there have been improvements over the years.
And now for our devices, when you receive it, you cannot proceed with your initialization unless you have changed the password. That being said, those are new devices. Those are devices from the last few years. Some businesses are still using devices that are much older than that.
Several businesses say public education when it comes to changing passwords needs to be better. Police say that signage and stickers can help as well to deter criminals from breaking in. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. Premier Doug Ford was in Belleville today, presenting the city with a check for more than $1 million for exceeding its housing target.
The city of Belleville has been a great partner to our government as we work to build homes, and they exceeded the number of homes. I think you hit 644, Mayor, and your target was 417.
The Premier says the money provides Belleville with flexible funding that can be put towards local priorities such as mental health and addiction services. Belleville made national headlines last month after dozens of people overdosed there in a short period of time, forcing the city to declare an addictions emergency. Now to a CBC Toronto exclusive. We've uncovered a growing number of private clinics charging patients for routine primary care services like checkups and specialist referrals. Critics say these clinics staffed by nurse practitioners are exploiting a loophole in provincial legislation. Sarah McMillan reports.
Step into this primary care clinic in Yorkville and you won't find a crowded waiting room. It advertises short wait times, unrushed appointments, as well as on-site lab testing and easy prescription refills.
I came in, I registered, and they saw me within like 10 to 15 minutes. Gave me a pretty comprehensive workup in the sense that like they were asking me a bunch of questions.
It's staffed by nurse practitioners who can diagnose common ailments, prescribe medication, and refer patients to specialists, just like family doctors.
Our kind of mission statement was, how can we basically design and develop like our dream family practice?
But an appointment at that dream practice comes at a price for patients, $75 for a single appointment and hundreds of dollars for an annual membership.
Kind of sucks that I have to pay for accessibility.
CEO Alon Burstein says it's legal to charge patients since nurse practitioners can't bill OHIP like physicians do.
I mean, I know this is a very touchy subject, especially in for us Canadians. But really, the fact is that most Canadians aren't aware that we've had a so-called two-tier system for many years already. This isn't really something new.
Clinics like this may not be brand new, but they do appear to be growing in number. The Nurse Practitioners Association of Ontario says it's noticed more private clinics opening up in the last couple years and is aware of about 24 throughout the province. A sign, the association says, that nurse practitioners should be allowed to bill the province for services.
There's insufficiency of easily accessible funding mechanisms right now.
And a consequence of an overall family doctor shortage. Until last month, Rizwan Sheikh operated a clinic in downtown Toronto.
We have been recruiting for physicians for a very long time.
we were successful with 2 physicians, and retaining them past the 6-month period was extremely hard.
In the fall, he made a switch from a clinic staffed with doctors to one with nurse practitioners and started billing patients for visits. Sheikh closed his downtown clinic early this year and is now working on plans to open a new clinic in Pickering. So what exactly are the rules governing these private clinics? Now, owners point out they can't bill OHIP, and nurse practitioners are not directly mentioned in provincial legislation related to OHIP. But critics say charging patients for primary care still goes against that legislation and the Canada Health Act, which guarantees universal access. We reached out to Health Canada, and in a statement, a spokesperson told CBC the federal government is concerned that the increased scope of practice for nurse practitioners has resulted in patients being charged for services that would be covered under provincial health insurance plans if provided by a physician. The Ontario government does fund some nurse practitioner-led clinics, but only 25 in total. We asked the provincial health minister about all the other pay-out-of-pocket clinics that have opened.
OHIP-funded services cannot and must not be charged to a patient. So first of all, that is a hard stop.
But with so many private clinics popping up, the executive director of the Ontario Health Coalition says the province isn't taking the issue seriously enough and could easily clarify what's allowed under the law.
And if there's any ambiguity in Ontario law at all, and we don't accept that there is, I think it's pretty clear, then the government could have moved months ago to clear that up. They could have, it's just a question of regulation.
In October, Jones said the ministry would investigate a private clinic set to open in Ottawa that caused public uproar. Months later, the clinic is open and continues to advertise private primary care through nurse practitioners. Sarah McMillan, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, a few showers possibly overnight and into tomorrow, but definitely a warmer than normal weekend for the beginning of March across the region. Let's get back to Victor now with a look at the long-range forecast.
Taking a look at the wind gust right around the time the show began, you can see it was coming in from the south. Now here's the big news story here. Not so much at how fast the wind is traveling. What we want to really look at is where the wind is coming from. Now what we can see is the wind is coming from the south, and that's that Gulf of Mexico air. That Gulf of Mexico air is a big reason why it's not as cold as it was on Wednesday evening, Wednesday overnight into your Thursday morning. This is a reason why it's going to be feeling much more above seasonal. Of course, you know, a lot of people around the month of March love to travel down south to Mexico because that's where all that warm air is and not as cold as it is up here, well, traditionally for this time of year. Now, as we get later on into your Saturday, we can still see the winds are remaining coming from the south all the way through to about halfway through your day, closer to the overnight for your Saturday. And by the time we reach Sunday, we'll be in double digits, expecting it to be around closer to 12 degrees due to all of that warm air that's working its way to where we're located. Now, let's take a look at the long-range forecast. Now, what's this long-range forecast telling us? Long-range forecast is showing us that, well, the temperatures are going to remain quite warm, as you can see by the time we're into Sunday, into Monday as well, too. But once we're going to also see we get closer to Tuesday and we get closer to Wednesday, is those overnight lows will be much colder than they would be over the weekend. Now, another thing which is showing us as well as we get closer towards that weekend, a lot of the cloud cover is pushing itself over to the east coast, leaving us with a high pressure system over here in the southeast of Ontario, which would be a contributing factor to all of that sunshine. And speaking of sunshine, let's take a look at our 3- and 5-day forecast. Looking at Saturday, well, a high of 9 with a bit of precipitation as we do start our day. But once those clouds clear, leading its way for Sunday and Monday, it's going to be some more beautiful weather. And looking at Tuesday and Wednesday, well, big precipitation coming on Tuesday. But hey, overall, it's going to be some above seasonal temperatures that we're expecting over the weekend. Hope you all have a great weekend and a good night. Over to you, Chris.
All right, Victor, you as well. Some brand new art exhibitions are lighting up Yonge Street, the downtown Yonge BIA holding a month-long light festival in the heart of our city.
Really cool. We just started online, and then that was our first piece. Like, I'm here to come and see. And it's really fun. Like, we can interact with it.
Well, they were on it. The installations take people all around the neighborhood, starting in the downtown on Yonge at Queen Street, all the way up to Gerrard, and they can be enjoyed for free every night until midnight throughout March. Finally tonight, if you're looking for some experimenting to do in the kitchen this weekend, shopping for ingredients in Scarborough just got a lot easier. And it's all thanks to one man's efforts to map each ethnic grocery store in the area.
You can see a lot of Asian and Chinese grocery stores near the north of the city, and near the central and the south. There's a lot of Middle Eastern, South Asian. There's just so many different cultures within Scarborough. You can see every grocery store of ethnicity in Scarborough, but you can also see like how the diversity and the cultural shift happens within Scarborough as you go further east, further south, further north. I think that's so cool. So you can also highlight which ethnicities and group of cultures that you'd like. My name is Hafiz, and I am the creator of the ethnic grocery store map in Scarborough. The ethnic grocery store map in Scarborough is a really cool and interactive map. My former supervisor, Chrisanne, who's part of the Scarborough Environmental Association, he asked me to make this map. This map is able to highlight not only some of the grocery stores that haven't been like sort of spotlighted before, but also a great way for people to go out and try new cuisines. For example, if they're making food, they can go and find what's their closest ethnic grocery store for a certain ethnicity or a group of cultures.
If you ever want like cheap Sri Lankan snacks, you want to get murukku. There's like so many conversations that led to this map, like the idea of food deserts, right? And also the idea that there's so many grocery store monopolies, but one really big goal of mine is getting people to be able to access food within walking distance. I feel like that is so crucial to building community and having people live fulfilled lives, being able to access resources in their own neighborhood. If there's one curry that people recommend, and I actually did a survey on this from Tamil Food, it's eggplant curry. So if you want a lot of eggplant, come here. I feel like culture exchange is so important. I feel like we live in such a lucky space where there's so many different cultures and we're all living in harmony. And what I'd like to see is like Tamil communities going into maybe Afghan supermarkets and trying their food, and other people coming to our community stores and trying our food and trying to do the cooking, because like why waste it, right? There's so much to do. There's so much different kinds.
All right, now I'm hungry, so that's it for us tonight. Join Shannon Martin tomorrow at 6 p.m., and I'll be back with you on Monday at 11. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you on the other side.